Welcome back to Learn with Chris. I'm Chris. Today I want to talk about honor in terms of doing what you think is right, following your own ideals, not breaking your promises or your oaths. All of this concept of being honorable in terms of Norse mythology. So let's start with a thought experiment. Think about your best friend. Your best friend that you trust probably with your life. They know all your secrets, you know all of theirs. They're so close to you that they're basically family. They're the person that you, outside of your family, you trust the most in the world. And let's say that your best friend is, bit of a troll, a bit of a mischief maker, maybe a bit of an asshole. When your best friend gets drunk at parties, they become belligerent and they insult people and they cause all kinds of problems for you, but they're your best friends. So you stick up for them, you stand up for them, and you support them, right? And even when your best friend plays like pranks and tricks on people, like shaving off the hair of your daughter-in-law, it's a bit annoying and everything, but you give your best friend the benefit of the doubt and give them the opportunity to kind of redeem themselves and to make up for it. They're your best friend, and you have a very strong connection with them, and you don't want to betray their trust. You don't want to break the friendship. You want to be faithful to the promises that you've made with your best friend, as to stay friends forever and to always support them. But you start to get feelings of, your friend is going a bit bad, and things are getting they're doing more outlandish things, more serious things, more dangerous things, more even evil things. And you get the feeling that eventually they're going to come after you, and you still hold true. You don't give up on them. You don't betray them because you're honorable, right? And it all comes to pass that your best friend, your blood brother, betrays you very, very strongly and murders your son. Now, any normal person would have probably given up on their friend, their blood brother, way before this point. However, of course, I'm talking about the relationship between Odin, the Allfather, and Loki, his blood brother. And in this example, of course, Loki conspired and planned to murder Odin's son Balder, which he did. And even at that point, even up until that point, and even after that point, Odin still did not kill Loki. I mean, they captured him and they bound him and they imprisoned him along with his children for very obvious reasons, as I'm going to get into in this video. But he still wouldn't spill the blood of Loki or his kids, his children, Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel, because of the oath of blood brotherhood that Odin and Loki had taken. Odin honored this oath, even to the point where he shouldn't have, even to the point where Loki completely betrayed him, and it would have been entirely reasonable and to not honor that oath anymore. But Odin continued to honor that oath up until the end of everything, right? So it actually is almost like pathological. So as we'll get into, Odin through his interrogations of dead Volva, through his conversations with Vafþrúðnir, the Jotun. He learned the prophecies of Ragnarok, the end of the world. He learned of his own death by being devoured or swallowed by Fenrir, Loki's child. And he also learned that Loki would lead the Jotnar army against the Aesir and Vanir during Ragnarok. And this, of course, this event, the end of the gods, the destruction of creation, is entirely linked to Loki. And once, again, if a normal person had discovered these prophecies, they probably would have tried to prevent them by just killing Loki so that he would not be able to lead the armies of the Jotnar against the Aesir and Vanir. It would have just killed them to prevent that from happening, and particularly would have killed Fenrir. Odin would have killed, or should have killed, Fenrir to protect his own life, because Fenrir is destined to kill him. But he didn't. He wouldn't break his word, right? Even to the point, to his own death and to the destruction of creation. Is this about honor? I think it's partially about honor. It might also, because being as an honorable person and following through with your promises and your word appears to me to be very important in Norse culture, and the gods, Odin in particular, is a manifestation of that. But it's also probably about destiny as well, and fate, and the fact that ultimately it couldn't be prevented, right? Although that does conflict a little bit, because it does appear to me that Odin, all of his quest for knowledge and wisdom and information, was all about ways of preventing Ragnarok from happening. But it maybe, even though he wanted that and he was in the pursuit of, delaying or stopping Ragnarok and his own death, he wouldn't go so far as to break his own oath to Loki, even though Loki had already betrayed him and murdered Balder. So we do see kind of a similar kind of concept in the saga of the Volsungs, where Sinfiotli, Sigmund's son, is a guest, and I think it was Sigurd's wife, and she was trying to give him poisoned meat, and at the third time, he knew it was poison, and he knew he would die if he drank it, but he kept on giving it to his father, Sigmund. He said, I can't drink this, this is poison, I can't drink this, this is poison. And the third time, Sigmund told him to drink it. He said, and the translation in English is something like, let your mustaches filter it, like filter the poison, right? So because they're guests at this part, I don't know if it was a party or a wedding feast, or I don't remember the exact type of event that they were at, but they were guests at this event, and they were offered drink, and as good guests, they should drink what they were given. So Sigmund said, drink it, and Sinfiotli did, and he died. So just kind of like that super level of honor to your own detriment. And even before this, in the saga of the Volsungs, Sigmund's father, Volsung, learned that he was betrayed, and he would be walking into an ambush the following morning. His daughter warned him of it, and he would not leave. He would not do something to even the odds, or to just leave and not walk into the ambush. He walked into it anyway, because honor dictated that he was this king's guest, and he follow through, even though it was stupid to do so, right? So the very interesting levels of honor and hospitality, even to your own detriment, which I find to be quite interesting. So I see this in Odin's actions. I see this also in the saga of the Volsungs. So as I am wont to do, I do try to back up my ideas through the Eddas. So I'm going to read through a little bit of Lokasenna, a little bit of Völuspá, Vafþrúðnismál, and quite a lot of Gylfaginning, just to kind of hammer through this point about the relationship between Odin and Loki, and the fact that Odin would not betray Loki, even though Loki betrayed him, just because, I believe, because of his sense of honor and his sense of right and wrong, right? He wouldn't betray Loki even to save his own life, or to even save the world as well, because the end of the world is a consequence, of course, of Ragnarok. So just for fun, because I enjoy trying and I try to get better at this, I am going to read through the Old Norse as well as English translations. I'm going to try to pick it apart word by word. I find it interesting to try reading Old Norse. I enjoy the challenge of it. And I also enjoy basically figuring out what the words mean and the overall meaning of it. So I'm starting with Lokasenna stanza 9. So Lokasenna, of course, is the insults of Loki. So this goes back to what I said at the beginning. Your friend is at parties and he's drunk and he's insulting everybody. That, of course, was a reference to Lokasenna. So let me attempt to read the Old Norse, stanza 9. Loki kvat mantu thought Othin vit I daga blendum blothi saman. Olvi burgia litstu agi mundu. Ni ma os vari bothum borit. So, mantu is remember. Remember that you, Odin, when vit us too, E is like from. Now, Ordaga is ancient days, old days, ancient days, bygone days, in the days of yore, so in ancient times, right? So blendum, of course, is blend or mix, blothi, blood, of course, and saman is together. So do you remember in the ancient days when we blended our blood together, right? So this is the only, as far as I could find, the only exact reference to Odin and Loki being blood brothers. And we don't know the story behind this. We don't know why they became blood brothers, what happened where they decided to do this. Because remember that Loki is Jotun, as in his father was Jotun. His mother, I get different stories about that. Laufey, some people say she's a goddess. Other people say that she's a Jotun as well. Ultimately, I think it doesn't matter because his father, Farboti, was a Jotun, so therefore Loki is a Jotun. But this event of becoming blood brother with Odin, that elevated Loki to becoming a Aesir god. And he is considered an Aesir god. People might call him the god of mischief, the god of chaos, the god of trickery. I think he's a god of betrayal. I don't view Loki in any positive way. I view him as a very, very negative thing. And by all rights, he should have lost his, let's call it, acceptance into the Aesir when he murdered Balder, right? He should have been given no quarter, given no rights at all. He should have been killed, but the honor of Odin prevented that from happening. And even to the point where he was still considered Aesir after that, right? Okay, so let me continue translating here. So do you remember in the bygone days when we blended our blood together? Olvi is ale, Bergia is drink, and we, not wood. So Nima is unless us to us brought both. So basically, we wouldn't drink ale unless it was brought to both of us. So that was like the agreement that they made. So just to kind of put all of this together in like reasonably understandable English, do you remember that Odin, when we two, in days of yore, in bygone days, we mixed our blood together? You said that you would not drink ale unless it was brought to both of us. right? And of course, in Lokasenna, Loki is there with all of the gods in one of the halls. And, people are telling him, get out, Loki, kick him out, because Loki is insulting people. But Loki brings up the point. It's like, I'm your blood brother. Can I have a drink as well? That kind of thing, right? And we're not supposed to drink unless we're together, something like that. So it's an example of one of the promises of blood brotherhood that they made, that they would never drink unless the other person was there, which is interesting. The story of why they became blood brothers is an unknown story. Maybe it was told, 1,000 years ago, but it has either it was told and lost, never written down, or it was never told at all, and it's just alluded to here, but we don't know. We don't know why they became blood brothers, but this is the singular one story I would love to know. I would love to know what happened that they would become blood brothers, right? What actually happened? What's the background story to that? I think that would be quite interesting to find out, but probably never going to know unless somebody finds some ancient manuscript or document detailing this, some lost manuscript. Okay. So Loki and Odin, blood brothers. And again, other than the fact that Odin would hold true honorably to this relationship, there's no other source that indicates or says that they were blood brothers. None. This is the only part. And it explains a lot. It explains, of course, Odin's attitude towards Loki in the future, to not betray him, to not kill him or his kids, his children. And of course, it explains why Loki is considered a Aesir god. All right, so I'm going to look at Völuspá 53 next. And this is going to be specifically about Odin's death. So what I want to talk about here, Völuspá 53 and then Vafþrúðnismál 52 and 53, the points of reading these is to indicate that Odin knew that he was going to die, and he knew how he was going to die, both from the giant, Vafþrúðnismál, Vafþrúðnir, and from the Volva in Völuspá. So he had two different sources that told how he would die. Okay, so let me try to read Völuspá stanza 53 in Old Norse. Þá kemur hlynjar harmur annar fram, Odin for við Ulfvega. In Bani Belja Bjartur at Surti, þá mun Frigiar falla angan. So then comes Hiln. Okay, Hiln. So harm is sorrow. Anar is second or another, and then farm is from. So there then comes forth Hiln's second sorrow. So Hiln is another name for Frigg. So this is famously the second sorrow of Frigg. The first sorrow, of course, is Baldur's death, her son. This is the second sorrow, right? So, Odin for við Ulfvega. So when Odin goes against, Vith is against, and Ulf, of course, is wolf, so Fenrir, and Vega's battle, right? So this is when Odin goes to fight Fenrir, when Odin goes to fight the wolf. And Bani's killer, slayer, death. Belja is belly, is a Jotun, is a giant. Bjartur is bright at Suti. So this is basically the bright slayer of Beli goes against Sutur. And the bright slayer of Beli is Freyr. So Freya's brother. So they're just throwing in here that Freyr will be fighting Surtur at Ragnarok. Not related to Odin, but the next sentence, of course, is. Tha mun frigjar falla angan. So then will mun is will, so it's a future tense word. Friggar, frig of course, fall, die, fall, and angan is like beloved. So basically, then Frigg's beloved will fall, if you want to put it into modern English. So the whole thing into understandable English would be, then comes forth Hilden's second sorrow, when Odin goes to fight the wolf, and the bright slayer of Beli against Surtur, then Frigg's beloved will fall. So Odin will die when he fights the wolf, right? So Völuspá 53 is telling us that Fenrir, the wolf, will kill Odin. Right? And we're going to see this a couple of other times as well. So the prophecy is going to be confirmed 3 different times. Once here in Völuspá, also in Vafþrúðnismál, and as well as in Gylfaginning there as well. 3 different examples. So lots of prophecies about the death of Odin. So continuing on, we're going to look at Vafþrúðnismál, stanza 52 and stanza 53. Remember that this is the kind of a knowledge contest or wisdom contest that Odin engages in with the Jotun Vafþrúðnir, and of course your head is the payment, right? If you lose your head. So in stanza 52, let's read it. Othin kvat fjoth ek fri stafdak fjoth ek of rinda regen vat verth othni at alderlagi fa of Rufskak? I can't say that, Reagan. I can't say that word. I know what it means, but I can't say it. So a lot of this in the Vafþrúðnismál, it got the same kind of beginning. Fjord ek fjord, much I went. So it's like I went to many places. I traveled a lot. Fjord ek free stock is like I tried a lot of things or experimented with a lot of things. And then Fjord ek, and then of course Reagan means God, and Reina is tested or tried. So basically this is much I've traveled, much I have tried, much I have tested the gods. So Odin repeats this many times through the poem. But the next part, of course, is what we're talking about. Think the word Verthandi, one of the Norns, and she, of course, is the Norn of the future, as in the Norn of what will happen, right? So this is the verb will happen, right? So it's the same root word as Verthandi, the Norn of the future, or the Norn of what will happen, right? So what will happen, Othni Odin, at Aldri Lagi is the end of the life's end. So basically, what will happen to Odin at the end of his life? How will Odin die, right? Same thing. Thawen of, again, I can't say the word, Rufosk, Reagan. Rufosk is broken, gods. So when the gods are broken. So that, of course, references Ragnarok, right? So again, the whole thing into understandable English. Much I have traveled, much I have tried, much I have tested the gods. What will become of Odin at the end of his life when the gods are broken or when the gods are destroyed? So what happens to Odin at Ragnarok? So Odin is asking Vafþrúðnir this information. So to continue, let me try the Norse again. Vafþrúðnir kvat Ulfur glepja mun alda fóður, þess víþar reka, kalda kjafta hann klifja mun, witness vege at. So Ulfur, of course, so this is Vafþrúðnir Vafþrúðnir says, or replies, or speaks. Ulfr, of course, is wolf. Glepja is to swallow, or to eat, or to devour. Mun, of course, future, will, and of course, Alda father is Allfather. So the wolf will eat Odin, will swallow Odin, or devour Odin. Directly would be like the wolf will devour the Allfather, right, or the father of all men. This Mun will Vidar, of course, is Odin's son. Vrekja is avenge, the word avenge. So Vidar will avenge this. Kalda, cold, right? Klefta is jaws. Han, it's he. Klifja Mun will split. So he will split the cold jaws. Vitnis vegi Vitnis comes from the word vitner, which is another word for wolf. So this is of the wolf. Vegi is battle. So it's of the wolf, battle at. So at the battle with the wolf. So again, to put all of this into understandable English, the wolf will devour the Allfather. This Vitner, Vidar, depends on how you want to pronounce his name. Vidar will avenge. He will split the cold jaws at the battle of the wolf. We're going to get into a lot of detail about exactly what happens there, but Vidar, Odin's son, will avenge Odin after he's killed by Fenrir, by basically splitting open the jaws of the wolf. And there's specific information in Gylfaginning about how he does that. And we are going to get into that. Yes, okay, like right now. So this is a couple of, we have three stanzas from the Poetic Edda, Lokasenna, Völuspá, and here Vafþrúðnismál. And now for the rest of this video, I'm going to be going through Gylfaginning 51, which describes the death of Odin, and then quite a lot on Gylfaginning 34, which is going to be speaking about the fact that Loki's children are brought to Odin, and then he kind of passes judgment on them, but he doesn't kill them. He doesn't kill them, right? Again, this is related, in my opinion, to him holding his word to Loki, right, as blood brothers, even though Loki doesn't deserve it. So let's have a look at Gylfaginning 51, chapter 51. Ulfrin Glepjar Othin, Verthi fat hans bani, en Thegar efter sinnist from Vithar och stiger Uthdrum fati I Nithra Kjoft Ulfsin, I think. Kind of hard to read. Okay, so Ulfrin, of course, is the wolf. We already said Glepja or Glepnir is the swallow, so in court Odin, all right? So the wolf swallows Odin. Again, we have this Verthan, so Verthandi, so will become, so future. Hans, his, and Bani is death. So that becomes his death. That becomes the death. So that's the death of Odin. The death of Odin is to be swallowed by the wolf, or devoured by the wolf. So Glipnir, Glipna, devour, consume, something like that. So I'm in Thergar, so but immediately after snist is like to turn forth from Vidar, sorry. So basically immediately after that, so immediately after Odin is killed, Vithar, he must have been fighting with him. He turns and Stiger is to go forward. Uthdrum Fati is foot. So he steps forward with his feet. And so it's into Nithra is the lower jaw. Klifta is the jaw of the wolf. So basically, immediately after Odin is killed, his son, turns and goes straight towards Fenrir, towards the wolf, and he steps with a foot into the lower jaw of the wolf, right? So to put all of this into reasonable English, the wolf swallows Odin. That becomes his death. But immediately after, Vidar turns forth and steps with one foot into the lower jaw of the wolf. So let's continue. Og þeim fati hefir han fan skål, allan alder hefir virti til samnat. So Fati again is foot. So on that foot, he that shoe. So skål is the shoe. Which allan alder is time or ages. Heifer is collected for all time, something like that. So the idea here is that Vidar has like special shoes, and so the leather to make these shoes has been collected through all time. So to put this into reasonable English, on that foot he has the shoe which has been collected throughout all ages. So the idea here, of course, is that when shoemakers would make their shoes, they would not use all of the leather, and they would discard some pieces of that leather, or if you have old shoes and you discard your old shoes, all of this leather is collected together to make this special shoe that Vidar is wearing, in which case I guess it allows him to stick his foot into the mouth of Fenrir and then get that kind of leverage he needs to, cleave open the mouth of the wolf and to kill him, right? So that's kind of the idea here. There's a little bit more information about this in Gylfaginning about the shoes and about the leather, but I'm skipping it. I don't want to read that exactly because it's not relevant to what I'm talking about. Okay. The next sentence I do want to look at, though, is Anari hendi tekkur in Ifra kjoft Ulfsin og Rifri Sundergin hans og Verther fat Ulfsins bani. So I've seen this word many times now. Anar, another, or second, depending on the context. So Hendi is hand, of course. And tek is take, and han is he. So another hand takes. So Ephra is upper. So we already mentioned the lower part, which was Nithra was lower. Now we have Ephra, so Nithra upper and lower. Cleft Ufsin, so the upper jaw of the wolf. And Ok is and, of course. Riffer is like rip or tear. And Sunder, asunder, same as the English word, right? Gin is mouth, his. And again, the verther, as in verthandi, so the future will, so become. That Ulfsins, the wolves, and again, bani means death. So to put all of this into reasonable English, with his other hand, he grasps the wolf's upper jaw and rips his mouth apart or asunder, and that becomes the wolf's death. So this is, again, the death of Odin being swallowed by Fenrir, and then his son immediately goes up to him, puts his foot into the lower jaw of the wolf using his special shoes, and then he just rips up and he tears the mouth of the wolf asunder, killing him. So this is the death of Fenrir. Now, Odin didn't kill Fenrir, but his son did, in vengeance, of course. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to talk about, and it's quite long actually, there's a lot to read through here, but it's a lot of information on Gylfaginning 34. And this is going to be essentially about the three children of Loki, Jormungandr, Hel, and Fenrir, and what Odin does with them and why, particularly why he does not kill them, even though they are evil to a high degree, and especially Fenrir, who will kill Odin. Odin does not kill him preemptively, basically. Gylfaginning 34. En golthin vissu til at þessi þrjú systkin fæddust upp í Jotunheimum. But when the gods, so Golthi is gods, Visu is know, to know, so knew, and Til is about. So when the gods knew about, so Thrio is three. Sithkin is siblings, so the three siblings, right? So when the gods knew about the three siblings, Fadust is to be raised or to grow up, up, so born up or raised up, and of course E is in, and Jotunheimum is Jotunheim. So in reasonable English, but when the gods knew that these three siblings were being raised in Jotunheim. Okay, so previous to this in Gylfaginning 34, they talk about the fact that Loki and Angerboda had three children, and they described them, right? And then the gods found out about them. Okay, so let's continue reading. Og Gothin rokthu til spådoma at of systkinum þessum myndi þeim mikud mein og ohap standa. So and ok, again, Gothi, the gods. Rokthu is to decide or to consider. And then very good word, very interesting word, spådoma, prophecies. And we're going to see several different words meaning prophecies, right? So basically the gods considered about the prophecies. And then off is of, again, systkindom is the siblings, so the prophecies of the siblings. So we've got min di them mikut. Basically, the prophecies of the siblings mean that there's great harm, right? So mikit is great. Main ok ohap is harm and bad luck, or harm and misfortune, and standas stand. So again, to put all of this into reasonable English, and the gods considered the prophecies that these siblings, great harm and misfortune would arise from them, right? So the gods know about the prophecies of these three children of Loki and Angerboda, and they know that great harm, of course, not hell. I mean, hell, I don't think hell does very much in related to harm and misfortune, but certainly Fenrir does, and Jormungandr, because Jormungandr, of course, is going to kill Thor, right? That's another thing I never mentioned either. So not only is Odin, standing true to his word and his honor, he's not even breaking it to save his own son's life, Thor, right? Because Thor is going to die at Ragnarok as well. Jormungandr will kill him. So, high level there of, honor, even to the detriment of your own son. All right. Okay, let's go again. So continuing reading. Og þótti Olum mikils ills of veni, first of Mothurni og en vera of Fethurni. So ok is and, Bothdi is seemed, Olum is all. So again, Mikilis is great, ills, ill, evil, same word in English. Of Veni is like an expectation. So basically all expected great evil, basically. First is first, off is from. Mothurni is mother, or from the mother's side, or motherhood. And vera, and worse or more from Vafþrúðnismál, which is father, right? So basically evil, great evil from the mother's side, but even worse from the father's side. So of course they're talking about Angrboda and Loki here. So in reasonable English, and it seemed to all that great evil was to be expected, first from the mother's side and even worse from the father's side. So that's quite interesting that they considered Loki, even though Loki was among the Aesir, to be more evil and worse than his Jotun consort, Angrboda. Remember that he wasn't married to Angrboda. He was married to Signy. Okay, let's continue reading. Þá sendi Allfather til Gothi at taka bornin och fera ser. Sayer, a little bit hard to say that word. Anytime you see Sayer, means myself, yourself, himself. So it's a reflexive pronoun. So Thaw then sendi sent, Allfather, of course, till to Godin, the gods, to taka take. Born is the children, and Fera to himself. So basically, then the Allfather sent the gods to take the children and bring them to him. So they consider the prophecies, and they consider how dangerous these children of Loki were, and Odin ordered the gods to bring them to him in Asgard, and this is basically for judgment, although he does not kill them. Okay, so continue reading. Och Thaw Kobo til hans. So Och and Thu is when they come. Till to Hans. Anytime you see Han or Hans, it means he. It might be she too, I'm not sure. It's definitely he. I would need to check if it's also, if it's more gender neutral, right? I'm not sure. But here it's him, right? So, and when they came to him, Thaw Kastathi han orminum in drupia say. So Thaw then Kastathi, throw or cast, right? He, Han, orminum is serpent or snake. So we're talking about Jormungandr. Into. In is the. Drupya, deep, and say, sea. So then he threw the serpent or cast the serpent into the deep sea. So this is what happens to the Midgard serpent, to Jormungandr. Odin judges quite immediately to get rid of him, not by killing him, but by throwing him into the sea. So continue reading. Liger ol land. So which lies around all lands, right? So the Jormungandr is so big that he lies around all the lands, right? So reasonable English just translates to which lies around all lands. Continue reading. Ok oxa omer swow. Ok and ox grew. That serpent, so Ormund, serpent, grow, so, and grew that serpent so. So basically, the serpent grew really big, right? So, and that serpent grew so. At han ligger I mithju hafinu of all land. So Od is that, he, Han, lies in, Mithu as in Midgard, right? Middle. Hafinu is sea, of all land. So basically, he lies in the middle of the sea around all of the lands. So there's of course an idea in the kind of, like the geography, was that of course Midgard was surrounded by an ocean, right? And Jormungandr was effectively around the entire world. He was so big, right? So, och Biter I spjoth ser. So remember ser himself, right? So ok and biter, bite. I is in or into. Spjoth is tail. So basically, and bites into tail himself. So in reasonable English, and bites into his own tail, right? So the Jormungandr surrounds the entire world, and of course he's biting into his tail at the other end. Very famous, of course, image, of course, of the serpent biting his own tail, right? So we see that a lot. Okay, so that's about Jormungandr, and now they continue talking about Hel. So, Hel Kastathi Han I Niflheim. So Hel threw or cast Han he into Niflheim. So he cast Hel into Niflheim. So this is the second judgment. Odin casts Hel into Niflheim. This one doesn't appear to be any type of punishment because he actually gives her some authority and some power. It does not seem to be a punishment. We're not entirely sure why. Maybe she just matched with this role because of who she was. Obviously, pagans, a lot of pagans believe that Hel, of course, is the goddess of the underworld. I'm dubious about that myself, though. I don't think she qualifies as a goddess just because she's not Aesir or Vanir. But I might be, maybe I'm too strict on my ideas there. And also, she is one of the monstrous children of Loki, and I don't like Loki, so I'm not too keen on calling her a goddess, but doesn't matter. So, okay. So he cast Hel into Niflheim, och gav henne våld, ifer heimum. So, och and gav give, henne, okay, so to her. So Han would be him, henne would be her. Okay, so not the same. Vald is power or authority. E for over, and Neo is 9, and of course Haemum are, worlds, realms, right? So he gave to her power over 9 realms. Of course, the 9 realms in the Norse cosmology, right? Very interesting because he didn't just give Hel authority over humans in Midgard. When we die, and we're not, we don't die in battle, and we're not chosen by the Valkyrie to go to Valhall or to Folkvanger, we go to Hel, or Niflheim. And, but quite specifically, Odin gave Hel authority and power over 9 realms, which does imply that if a god dies, they go to Hel. If a Jotun dies, they go to Hel. If an elf dies, if a dwarf dies, they all go to Hel. She has authority over the dead of all, which I find to be quite interesting. And of course, this of course becomes exemplified, of course, when Balder dies and goes to Hel. And of course, they try to get him out, and that doesn't go over at all. But that's a different story. Next bit here. Adhond skildi skipta olum vissum meth them. So at that honshi skildi should, skipta is give or distribute, olum all. Vistum is food or provisions. Myth is with, and of course them is them. So that she should distribute all provisions among them. Effectively, the dead who go to Niflheim under the authority of Hel, she's responsible for them, right? She has to take care of them, right? She has to give them provisions, give them food, assuming that give them lodgings and stuff like that, right? So the souls of the dead are under her authority, but she's also responsible for taking care of them, right? So that's interesting. So next part. Til hennar voru sendir. Who hennar her, to her, varu were is past tense for the verb to be, sender, send, so sent. So who were sent to her. Next part. En thought eru sot do their men ok eli dot there. So and is but, that again. So sot is sick, and daughter is dead. So sick, dead, or sickness, dead. Men. and ok. So Eli dother, Eli is old age, dead. So basically, in reasonable English, this means and they are those who died of sickness and old age. So she's given authority over the 9 worlds that she needs to distribute provisions among those who are sent to her, and they are those who died of sickness and old age. Again, this contrasts against those who die in battle and are chosen by the Valkyrie to go to Valhall or go to Folkvanger to be Einar Jarl. Okay, so that is... Now, there's a little bit more information about Hell in Gylfaginning 30... Where are we? 34? Yeah, 34. But not relevant to what I'm talking about, so I'm going to skip over. And then we come to another paragraph where we're talking about Fenrir. Ulfin fedu eser hema. The wolf, Ulfin, the wolf. Anytime you see in at the end of a noun, it's the definite article, the. So wolf, the wolf, right? Fedu is eat, feed, raise. Aesir, of course, the Aesir gods. Hema, home, of course, at home. So the Aesir raised the wolf at home. So they kept Fenrir in Asgard for the time being. I guess maybe he was a little puppy, and he grew, of course, to be very, very big. But they raised him at home. Och hafi tyr ein djarfleck att ganga till att och geva honum mat. Okay, so och and hefty is past tense of have, so had. Tyr, the god Tyr. Ein, alone or one. Djarfleck, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That means courage or bravery. At ganga till, so to go to him. Och and gefa, give. Honum, him. Mat is food, right? So basically only Tyr had the courage to go to him and give him food. So Tyr in particular was feeding Fenrir because only he had the bravery to do it. Okay, continuing. En golfen saw Hosu mikit han ox dag. So when Golfen the god saw to see Huersu, how much grew he, ox each, dog is each day, how much he grew at each day. So when the god saw how much he grew each day. So Fenrir is being fed by Tyr, and he's growing bigger and bigger and bigger each day. So next, ok aller spår såg att han myndi vera lokfer till skotha them. So ok is and, aller all, spore prophecies. Sethu past tense for say, so said. At that han he, mindi is mun, so will become, so past tense, so like would. Vera, verb to be, lagther, laid. Till for scaffa is harm, and them is them. So to make this a little bit more easier to understand, and all prophecy said that he would be the cause of harm to them. So all the prophecy said that Fenrir is going to be cause harm to the Aesir, particularly Odin, of course. Continuing, thaw fengu asir near thaw roth at their girthu fjother all sternkan. So then Fengu is received. So the Aesir received. Roth is a plan or a decision. So the Aesir received the decision. So they made a plan. And then their Gerthu Fjother, that's the make something. They made the, so the Fjotr is the fetter or chain or binding. So they made a binding for Fenrir, of course, right? All Sturkon is very strong, or all strong. So a little bit easier to understand. Then the Aesir took the plan that they made a very strong fetter, or you could say chain. Continuing. Their Kol Luthu Lething, which they called Lathing. So there's like multiple chains that they made to bind Fenrir. This is called the first one. This was the name of the first one. Of course, the last one that they made, the one that actually worked, I'm not going to go through the entire story of that, but it's called Glypnir. I think Glypnir is the pronunciation. And that's the one that they made from all of these, like, you know, the beard of a woman and the footfall of a cat and the breath of a fish. You know, they took all of these things that don't exist anymore. Well, although maybe women can have beards. But they took these things to make the eventual binding, the eventual chain that actually worked and chained Fenrir. But we're not there yet. So continuing. Og boru til Ulfsin og bothu reyna elfu sit with Fjotern. So Ok and Baru is to carry. So they carried it to the wolf. So they got this chain made, Lathing, and they bring it to the wolf. Ok Bothu Rhea is to try, and Ulf is strength. So they asked him basically to try his strength. Vith is against, and then again the feather. So basically they brought this chain and they brought it to the wolf and asked him to test his strength against the fetter. So it's like, here's a rope, we're gonna, you know, are you strong enough to break this rope? Basically, we're gonna tie it around your neck and we're gonna try to bind you to it, and can you break it or not, right? Continuing, en Ulfinum forte ser thought ekki offrefli og let thaw faru meth sem there will do. But the wolf thought he's to seem or understand, sayer to himself, that Eki is like a negative word, so not. And offrefli is powerful, overpowering, something like that. Ok let. Fari is to proceed or to do what you want to do. Meth with the plan, basically. So, and Vildu is want. So this comes out to be basically, but to the wolf, it seemed to himself no great challenge, and he let them do as they wished. So this first fetter, he allowed them to tie it around his neck because, of course, he knew that he could break it. And he did, and I think there was a second one, and eventually they make the last one, the Glyfnir, and this actually works, but the famous story, which I'm not going to go through, but he, of course, is not sure he would be able to break it, so he required one of the gods to put their hand in his mouth, and the gods, of course, knew that they were tricking Fenrir at this point, and he would not be able to break the bindings to find the fetter. And only Tyr, because Tyr, of course, has a lot of courage, he put his hand in the mouth of Fenrir. And, of course, when Fenrir learned that this was an unbreakable binding, he bit off the hand of Tyr, of course. So I'm skipping over that entire story, the creation of the binding, Glepnir. I'm skipping that over, and I'm going to continue after that point, after the point where Tyr loses his hand and Fenrir is bound. So, Thor Asirnir saw at Ulfrin var bundin at fulla. So then So the Aesir saw at Ulfin, the wolf, Vars was, bunden is bound or bind, right? At fully, fully, completely. So then the Aesir saw that the wolf was completely bound or fully bound. So it worked, right? He was successfully bound. Thought Toku their festina orvar fjortrinum geglia heiter. Heiter means name. So then Tuku take their rope. The festin is a rope from which the so frotinum is the fetter. Which so Gelgia is the name of the fetter. Heter is called. So this comes out to be something like, then they took the cord or the rope that was attached to the feather, which was called Glegia. That's the name of the cord, right? Again, I don't know why they're so particularly interested in naming all of the different parts of the rope and the cord, and they're also going to name the rock that it's tied to and everything. Although the name of the rock is actually kind of interesting. So the next part, Ok drogu hana gegnum helu mikla, so heter gyol, and we see this word in other places. So they drew it through. Gegnum is through. Helu is a stone slab, and mikla we've seen before. It means great or very good. And then again, heter gyol, which was called gyol. So in English, and they drew it through a great stone slab, which is called gyol. Gyol we see in other places, particularly related to the god Heimdallr and Mimir, and the sound. It means sound or noise, so it is related to Gjallarhorn. It's the same root word. So it's an interesting connection here. It's also mentioned in Hell as well. The bridge that you cross over to get into Niflheim, into Hell, is also called Gjallarbrú. Gjallarbrú? Wait, not Gjallar. Gjallarbrú is Brewy? Gjallarbrúi? I forget. I know there's Gjallar Bridge and Gjallar Well. Brunner is well, yes. So Gjallarbrúi, I think. So the bridge of hell, or the bridge of sound, because that's what Jarl means. So it comes up in a lot of different places. So the stone that Fenrir is tied down to, is attached to, is called Jarl, which comes up in other places. So I find that interesting. I don't know the connection between all of them, but there is a connection. So continuing. Och festu hell una legt I Jorthnether. Jorth, of course, is earth, right? We see this name, of course, because this is also the name of Odin. Thor's mother. Nether would be down. So festu, fasten, connect. Again, hell lugna is the stone. So basically, they fasten the stone deep down into the earth. That's what that means, right? So they fasten the slab deep down into the earth. And Thá Toku their Mikin Stein och Skutu ein Legra I Jorthina. So again, Jorthina, so earth again. So they, Toku take the great stone. So again, Mikin is great. Stein, of course, is stone. Skutu is thrust. And then ein even legra is further into, Jorthina is further into the earth. So in English, this comes out to, then they took a large stone and thrust it even further into the earth. So they're really nailing down Fenrir to make sure that he can't break free. And they have a name for this as well. So Heter Thviti och Hofthuthan Stein Ferar Festar Heilin. So that is called Theti, and that is used, and they use that stone as an anchor peg. So they even gave the name for the anchor peg as well. So they're giving names for everything: the name of the stone, the name of the binding, the name of the fastening, the name of the fetter itself. They name everything. Why? Don't know. Okay, so now of course Fenrir is nice and bound up, and he can't get away. And now of course he knows that he's in trouble. And here we get a little bit of action from Fenrir. Ulfrin gapthi åkaflinga och fisk mjölk och vildi bita tha. So Ulfrin, the wolf, Fenrir, gapthi, gape, with your mouth wide open. Åkaflinga is violently or strongly or something like that. And fisk, I don't know how to say that, F-E-K-K-S-K, a very difficult word, but it means to struggle. So basically his mouth is gaped violently open, and he's struggling. Mjölk means, of course, greatly. Mjölk means great or very in Norse. And of course, villi means one, bita, bite. Thought them. So the wolf gaped fiercely and struggled greatly and wanted to bite them. So, and here we get to the point where they put a sword in his mouth to force his mouth to stay ajar, to stay open. So there, soktu I mun honum sverthi nokuru. So skutu again is thrust. So mun is mouth, holm is him, and sverthi is sword. And nokuru is certain. So they thrust a certain sword into his mouth. Although when they say a certain sword, I'm assuming it's some kind of special sword, although I don't know the name of the sword. Continuing. Nima Hjotin with Nithra, remember we've seen that word before, it means lower. Galmi and Ephra, which means upper. Galmi bloth refilin. So this is an interesting word. Bloth, blood, of course, but the word is blood point, but it means blade. So the blood point of the sword is the blade. It's an interesting meaning where this comes from. So the Norse word for the blade of a sword has the word blood in it. It's the point where you stick people to get the blood out of them, something like that. Basically, the hjotin is the hilt. So basically, the hilt vith is against the lower. Gomi is gums, right? So the lower gums, and then the upper gums with the blade, right? So they put the hilt in the lower part of his mouth and the blade in the upper part of his mouth to force his mouth open, right? So exact translation in English would be, except the hilt against the lower gum and the blade against his upper gum. Fat air gomspari hans. That is mouth prop him. So gomspari is mouth prop. So his mouth is propped open, basically, right? So that is his mouth prop. His mouth prop is the sword in his mouth, basically. So let's continue. Han Grenjar Iliga och Slifaren or Munihan. So Hanhi Grenjar sounds like an interesting word. It means howl. And of course, il, meaning evil, of course. But in this case, iliga, I don't know how to say that exactly, but it means terrible, so like terrible howls. And ok and. Slifa is slobber, drool, so water from your mouth. Ren is run, again from his mouth. So basically, his mouth is open. He can't close his mouth because of the knife is in his, the sword is propping his mouth open, and of course he's a wolf. There's going to be all this slobber and everything coming out of his mouth. So he howls terribly, and slobber runs from his mouth. Fat o saw van heter. Again, heter, call. And so basically, Au is a river. So there's a river called Van so this slobber coming out of his mouth actually creates a river. This is the first I've heard of the river Van. I don't know where it's supposed to be or what it's supposed to mean. Actually, no, I do know what it means. It means hope or expectation. I do know the meaning of the word. And it is a little bit strange. Maybe there's some type of like ironic. They're giving. Okay, so the river coming out of his mouth, the river made of his slobber and saliva, it's called hope or expectation. This is definitely, well, I don't know definitely, but perhaps it's an ironic use of the word because obviously Fenrir is not connected with hope and expectation. He's connected with dismay and the prophecy of killing Odin, right? So maybe it's an ironic use of the word or something, or maybe it has a different meaning that we don't know. But Van apparently means hope or expectation in Old Norse. So that is the river called Van. Thar ligger han till Ragnarokos. So that's pretty straightforward there, and there he lies until Ragnarok, right? So Fenrir will stay bound up until Ragnarok begins. And now we're getting to the end of it. Thaw multi gangleri. So then spoke Gangleri. Gangleri is, so this is from Gylfaginning, and he's King Gylfi. And basically he is trying to, again, learn about the Norse cosmology and learn about the all of the secrets of the universe from the gods, from the Aesir. So he's questioning the entire Gylfaginning is him learning about Ragnarok, learning about the gods, and learning about different stories and adventures that the gods went on, learning about the Jotnar. So Gangleri is the name of this king, but he's disguised as Gangleri instead of actually using his own name, because everybody's disguised in all of these stories. Nobody ever goes by their real name. So then spoke Gangleri. Frothu il barna Ang gat Loki en ol thesi snistkin uru mikil fury sayer. So about Loki here. So Frothu is, like, surprisingly or remarkably, Illa, evil, of course. Barna, remember born is child, so Barna is children. Aina is like offspring, so children's offspring. Gat, as in begat, Loki, so the children that Loki begat, the children of Loki. Ol is all. These, so remember we had sistkin before, which means, of course, siblings. We had that multiple times already. Are milk great again, and again, sayer, as in reflexive pronoun. So it's either myself or yourself, but in this case, themselves, because it's talking about the three siblings, right? So, so this is Gangleri asking, he's going to ask a question in a second, but he's setting up the question in English. Loki got remarkably evil offspring, and all of these siblings are great in themselves. So that's what this means. Continuing. Ein fi dropu eser egi ulfin therm ils van of honum. But, so fairy is, why did Dropper kill the Aesir not the wolf? So, yeah, why didn't the Aesir kill the wolf, basically? When them to them of evil, so Van, expectation, that's why we know the river Van means expectation, evil expectation of Honum, from him. So in easy English, why did the Aesir not kill the wolf, since they expect evil from him? And that's kind of my whole point about telling all of this information, is that why didn't they kill him? Why didn't they kill the wolf? To prevent Ragnarok from happening, also to prevent Odin from being killed. So continuing, Hor Svarar, High answers. This is one of Odin's names. So this king in the skies of Gangleri, he's actually questioning Odin himself, because Odin knows his own prophecies. So High, or Odin, answers. Swa milkils verthu gothin ve sin ok grifastanthi. Swa, so mikil is again great. Value is verthu gothin, so the gods valued something greatly. Vesin, I think, is like holy places or sanctuaries. Ok, and, so this is an interesting word, Grifastanthi. Stanthi is a place. Grifa is peace or truce. So they valued their places of truce. They valued their places of peace. So they valued the truce. What truce? Is this a truce with the Jotnar, or is this a truce in the sense of the truce between Loki and Odin, the relationship between them, right? Because I don't know. I mean, truce, places of truce. Truce implies there's a war, and the war ended, and there's a truce between the two sides. So, translation here, so greatly did the gods value their sanctuaries and places of peace or truce. At egi vildu tha sorga tha meth blothi ulfsin. So that egi is negative word, so not, vildu want, they. Sorga is to defile, or kind of like blaspheme or defile. Tha, them, myth, with, blothik of blood, of course, and then ulfin, of course, wolf, in is the wolf, right? So the blood of the wolf. So they did not want to defile themselves with the blood, or no, sorry, they didn't want to defile the places with the blood of the wolf. Not that they didn't want to defile themselves, the Aesir, with the blood of the wolf. They didn't want to defile the sanctuaries and the places of truce. And lastly, thought swa segi spornar at han mini vertha at bana othni. So even though so say, segi means say, and again, spornar, so spore again, prophecy. So even though the prophecies say, at that, he is Han, mini would, again, mun is will, future, so mini would. Vertha, again, related to Verthandi, become, so she's the Norn of becoming. At bana othni, so bana or bani is death. So at the death of Odin. So basically this all comes out to, even though the prophecies say that he would become the death of Odin. So so to put it all together, so greatly did the gods value their sanctuaries and places of peace that they did not want to defile them with the blood of the wolf, even though the prophecies say that he would become the death of Odin. Right? So very clearly, they know that, and this is Odin himself saying this, know that Fenrir and Loki are going to cause such devastation that Odin still will not kill them or murder them. Instead, and Loki, of course, himself is also going to be chained away as well. But that's a different story. So let me I have no idea how long this video is. I've been talking a long time, but let me just do kind of a recap of it. So my main idea for this entire video is about how important honor is, how important keeping your word is, keeping your promises, being true to who you are, your integrity, all of these ideas, these honorable ideas, which we would we see personified, or you know, we're given the example of Odin, right, as an example for these things, through the fact that he would not forsake Loki, he would not kill him, he would not kill his children, even though by doing so potentially would have changed his own fate, and as well as the fate of the world at Ragnarok. So how much of this is honor and being true to your word, compared to how much of it is fatalism, and the fact that it's like maybe Odin didn't think that anything could be done about it, because again, the Norse were very fatalistic, and they believed that their fates, of course, were determined by the Norns, and there was no way around it, right? But if that's true, though, it does conflict with the idea that Odin is so intent on fighting against the Jotnar. You know, he prepares his Einherjar, collecting the dead. He quite often actually instigates the killing of people, just to make sure that he can get the best of them for his army against the Jotnar, right? Doing some kind of shady stuff, right? So if Odin is fully behind the whole fate part of it, and he's just kind of playing it out like letting Loki live, letting Fenrir live, because he knows that eventually they're going to break free, and eventually Ragnarok is going to trigger. If he is fatalistic in that sense, I'm losing my voice. If he's fatalistic in that sense, why is he going through so much trouble to sacrifice his eye for wisdom, and hang from Yggdrasil for 9 days to learn the runes, and to build up an army of Einherjar and train them in Valhall? Why is he doing all of that if it doesn't matter? Right. So these are open questions I don't have answers to, but it's raining, so maybe it's a good time to stop. So please, if you have any ideas about what I said here, if you agree or disagree about the honor of how important honor was for Odin, and for the Norse in a general sense, because of course they would have looked to Odin for certain values and beliefs that they had. Yeah, let's have a conversation in the comments. So thank you for watching this extremely long video. If you did, if you got to the end, thank you. And see you next time. Take care.